Five sensory people will lie about the following in their intimate relationships with six sensory people. Hi, my name is Leah Chantel. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm talking about the things five sensories lie about in their intimate relationships with six sensory people. And not all of this is badly intentioned. Some of it might be. So we'll go into the different categories of things that they lie about, but other things, they're really trying to make you feel happy to a certain extent, even if they're telling a white lie. But there are white lies and then there are darker lies. So let's start with the white lies that five sensories tell six sensory people. So when six sensories approach five sensories about, does my butt look big, or does my shoulders look too small, or whatever it is the physical insecurity of the body. And I don't recommend doing this, but it happens, so I'm just going to address it. When you go to them, they will actually lie and tell you that you're beautiful. Unfortunately, because you've approached them first and identified your negative attribute, they're actually seeing that attribute and they're starting to devalue you when they see you and you describe your physical attributes as being less than perfect, right? And so you don't want to do that, because on the surface level, yes, they will tell white lies and tell you that you're beautiful in spite of your problems that you're having. But you should avoid sharing whatever it is you're feeling insecure about, because they will start noticing it too, whereas they may have never noticed that before and everything might have been happy. And so you don't want to approach them with any physical body parts that you're not feeling comfortable with. If you really need to talk to somebody about it because it's really bothering you, go to your six sensory community, go to the people you really trust, but don't engage with your five sensory intimate relationships with this information or this kind of feedback and try to seek their approval. Because on the surface, you may actually get it. It may seem like they're validating you and telling you how beautiful you are, or how handsome you are, but the problem is secretly they're thinking that you're less attractive. So it's not a good idea to approach them and talk to them about that, because they will lie back to you. And then you'll wonder later, if you're really engaged in this practice, if you break up later, you'll be like, well, why did we break up? But it might have been because you're very insecure and constantly bombarding them with your insecurities. It's not a good practice with five sensory people. And I'll go into why in my next point. So the next point that five sensory people lie about is they lie that they're not attracted to superficial qualities in people. They lie that they're not attracted to physical appearance, physical height, income. They'll say they're not attracted to your status, or they're not attracted to your house, but they actually are attracted to those things. And to a certain extent, like at the beginning, we do get attracted to superficial qualities sometimes, but five sensories are a little bit more vulnerable to this than six sensories. We tend to connect through conversation on a soul level, and that's how we fall in love as six sensories, but five sensories tend to be more interested in the superficial factors, and they'll fall in love with the person at the beginning based on that, more so than six sensories. But they will lie about it and say it's about you as a person, but they're really more attracted to your hair or the way your body looks or whatever it is that they're attracted to, maybe your money. And so that's something you need to be aware of as a six sensory person. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're 100% a bad partner, but you want to make sure that you get to know them over a long period of time and make sure they're in the relationships and they're falling in love with you for all the right reasons. Because at the beginning, it can be quite superficial. And so you don't want to get caught in that trap of having a partner who wants you just for superficial things, because you won't get a lot of satisfaction out of that relationship. And so my next point that five sensories lie about to six sensories people is if they have somebody in their life who's a friend, if they're straight, the opposite sex, or if they're gay, the same sex, if there's somebody in their life who is the sex that they're attracted to, and they are not coworkers, they're not engaging in the same hobby, or they're not part of the same spiritual community, they don't appear to have much in common, but they're hanging out, that means they've either probably been intimate in the past, or somebody is hoping to become intimate in the future. So it could be the other person, or it could be the partner. That is what it is. Now, having said that, the five sensories will lie about that and say it's not like that and they're just friends. but you don't want to confront them on it. Don't call them out on it and just be like, oh, they're not just a friend. Because you might be right, but you'll actually really tick off your partner. And this is where sometimes being a little bit too psychic can actually work against you, because you're pointing out things that might be true but get people angry. Instead, it's better to keep that information for yourself and just be quiet and keep an eye on it and see if you're feeling comfortable with their level of contact in the relationship. And if it ever gets to a point where you don't feel comfortable, don't kid yourself and imagine that you can just change it by yelling at the other person or telling them to change. It doesn't work. You just have to decide what works for you in terms of the relationship and if it's good enough. So if you don't mind your partner hanging out with somebody else, if there's other people involved and you can kind of feel okay about it, then you can just leave it alone and you can stay in the relationship. But if they're spending a lot of time alone together and you know about it, you might guess it could be something like cheating. But again, be very calm. Don't ever call people out on things because you could be wrong. But you can say that you're not comfortable and you don't want to be in a relationship anymore. That's perfectly fair, and you're well in your rights to do that if something doesn't feel right in the relationship as a sixth sensory. And you'll probably know it too because you're very intuitive. And so that's one way to kind of get around the problem, is just say you're not feeling comfortable and you don't want to continue the relationship. So my next point that five sensories lie about to six sensories is their level of commitment. So sometimes five sensories are getting better about being honest about their superficiality these days. Many of them, almost to the point of rude, will tell you what they're looking for. And that can actually be a good thing, because at least you're aware of it in advance as the sixth sensory and you can kind of dodge or avoid it. If somebody's giving you a rude comment or saying they want this or that without really engaging with you and getting to know you deeply as a person, then you probably already know that they're not the right person for you. But what's really sneaky is when they lie about their intentions. You know, they really want something superficial or short term, but they lie and they say they want something long term. So if you're getting to know somebody and right off the bat they're talking about like marriage and having children or something like that, that's a big red flag to be aware of, just because you may want these things. And I'm not necessarily saying all six sensories want these things, but I think we tend to be more happy in deeply committed, loving relationships of some kind. It may or may not be in the form of marriage and children. Maybe it's more in the form of a long-term partnership. But if people are kind of like talking about that very quickly and sort of offering that like a carrot in front of you very early on, I would be careful, because there's usually a stick that's hiding in the background. So as a sixth sensory, be very cautious if five sensories are talking to you in a way that seems too good to be true. I'm not saying it can't be a good thing. Just get to know them and take it very, very slow. It doesn't hurt ever to take things slowly, because then you'll get to know them and you'll get to see if their intentions are really real. It's hard for somebody to keep up an act over like 8 months or 9 months or 10 months. Usually when you're getting into that level of time, when you're spending with that person, sooner or later their true colors come out. And then you can decide if they really are the right partner for you or not. And the last thing that five sensories lie about to six sensories is that they agree with you either on your spirituality or your political beliefs. Often five sensories have different politics and different spiritual beliefs than six sensories. However, if they're lying about this to you, that's actually a good lie. I'm going to end it with a good lie, because they're trying to avoid conflict, and that's a good thing. So you don't want to call them out on this lie either. Rather, it's best to respect each other's differences and not talk too much about your spiritual beliefs or your political beliefs in depth with a five sensory person. Even if they say they're okay with it, even if they say they're on board, that's good and that's a nice thing for a relationship, but I wouldn't put it to the test. And if they start talking a lot about these things, it's okay for you to say, hey, I want to set a boundary and I don't want to talk about this so much. I know you really like this certain politician, and that's okay if we don't talk about it. But when you constantly bring it up, I feel uncomfortable. So you can put it that way to your partner and just say you don't want to talk about it. And if that goes well, then you can continue the relationship. If they're very insistent on trying to win you over to that side of the political spectrum or the spiritual spectrum, and they're not respecting you and your beliefs and where you're at spiritually, then they're not a great fit. But if they lie about it and pretend that they're on the same page as you, it's not the worst lie, because at least they're trying to connect with you in some way. And so you can test out the waters and see if you actually have a good connection long term and get to know them slowly. And that's one of my big takeaways for this video. When you're 6-sensory engaging with a 5-sensory in a relationship, take things slowly. Get to know them, see if what they're saying is really true over a long period of time. And if it is true, that's amazing. You can respect each other's boundaries and you can have a happy, healthy relationship. But if it doesn't go so well after 6 to 9 months, and you'll usually probably know by then you can let them go. But the sooner you find out, the better it is to let them go.